There we go. Boom. And we are live. I want to thank you for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this evening. We have a magnificent guest with us tonight, one that's going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than our sister, Dr. Hassane Muhammad, residing out of Phoenix, Arizona. Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Walaikum salam, Brother Joshua.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on the People's Podcast, ma'am.
Yes, sir. It's my honor.
Yes, ma'am. Before we get started, I just wanted to give this is the first interview I've done since we heard about our Brother Joshua Farrakhan. So we just want to send love to his family, to the believers, and to the community. We love you, sending positive energy. He's a staple in People's Podcast, and it's nothing but love. All right, we want to get directly started, ma'am. When did you first hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
That's a really good question. I want to say that Master Farad Muhammad breadcrumbed me, Brother Joshua. You know what I mean by that? So I didn't just get like a lecture. The first time I heard the name Farrakhan was in a lyric by Public Enemy. You know that song, Follower of Farrakhan, don't tell me that you understand until you hit a man. I was like,
Okay.
who is Farrakhan? So that was the first breadcrumb, the first time, I'm like, I've never even heard that name before. And so the second time was when I was a college student and I heard about this Million Man March. Where I'm from, there was no consciousness, there's no Muslims. That wasn't until I was in college that I heard about the Million Man March. And I was sitting at my television and I was just crying. These tears were just streaming down my face the entire time because it's something that I had been praying for and that I didn't know existed. So that was like the second breadcrumb. I could go on, but let me just tell you, Allah roped me in. Like he literally like set a trap and like he caught me. So yes, sir.
Beautiful. All praise due to Allah. And what was it that finally was like, it's time now?
When I could no longer argue. So when I ran out of arguments, like I had I think this is important to tell this story because I think it'll be so uplifting, but I'll try to keep it short. So
Take your
while I
time.
was
Take your time.
taking my time, okay. So while I was in college, Brother Joshua, I, was on a search. You know how when you start school and you've been raised a certain way and you start looking around like, what do I actually believe in? What do I, and I always was seeking God. And so I was studying all these different religions. And one summer, I was supposed to be studying French, right? So I was in college doing an intensive French thing. Please don't ask me to speak French right now, okay? Because I don't remember any of it because I spent the whole summer. So I went to this bookstore in Ames, Iowa. If you know anything about Ames, let's just say it's 99% white, okay? So imagine going into a bookstore in Iowa and on the bookshelf, at the bottom of the bookshelf, there's this book called The Theology of Time. Another breadcrumb. And of course, now no context for this, but I'm drawn to the book, Brother Joshua, and I pick it up, and it was a $35 book. Now, back in the early 90s, as a college student, a $35 book just for leisurely reading that I have no idea what it's about, but I picked it up. And then how Allah works is I ran into a Muslim that I didn't know was a Muslim. And I was studying this book and I was like, this is the craziest stuff I've ever heard in my life, right? So there's all these parallel tracks running. And so as I'm studying the theology of time with no backdrop, no Quran, no message to the black man, no mosque, no Muslims, no nothing. I'm just, studying the theology of time. And I ran into a Muslim. I was visiting home. I was doing laundry. And this really cute guy, he came up and he was very handsome. You know how the FOI, you know how y'all are.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
he was like, sister, may I grab your laundry for you? And I was like, what? This black man wants to carry my laundry? You know what I'm saying? Oh, for real? Yeah, like, okay, sure, And he kept calling me sister and all that. I really wasn't interested in what he was talking about. I was just kind of looking at him like, wow, he's very handsome. And so as I went to visit, he invited me to this restaurant in Iowa. Now, this is still the same summer. I'm like visiting, and I go to this restaurant, and I didn't know there was like a little group of Muslims in Iowa, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, and how Allah set this up, one of the little Muslims in Iowa was actually from my hometown, Waterloo, and he was like the captain, right? So I go into this restaurant thinking that I'm gonna meet this brother and it's gonna be like a date. You know, I'm not the only sister that came this way. So let's just be real, right? Okay, so I saw him and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go up there and see what they're talking about. I thought it was kind of like a date. He's like, come to the restaurant. I'm like, sure, I'll come to the restaurant. So, I put on this really cute little mini dress, some like boots, and I went up there like, clueless. And apparently they were having FOI class at the time. I didn't know, but I just knocked on the door like, hey, is brother so and so here? Because in small study groups they have meetings and stuff at restaurants, at people's houses and stuff like that. So we're not all blessed to come in through a mosque and things like that. So anyway, long story short, I ran into a childhood friend who was actually the captain, and he started teaching me. So we would debate back and forth. So I went back to school. I linked up with Brother Michael, may Allah be pleased, because he brought like almost all of us into the nation. His name's Brother Michael Muhammad. He was a photographer for The Final Call. And he would debate me about the teachings. And after I ran out of arguments, I said, this is what I want to be in. This is what I want to be in. I want the undefeatable truth, Brother Joshua. Okay. And I felt like if I couldn't defeat it, it couldn't be defeated at the time. So yes, sir.
Beautiful. All praises to Allah. Shout out to Brother Michael. May Allah be pleased.
Yes. May Allah be pleased.
Okay. How did your family and friends feel that you are in Waterloo, Iowa?
I was in Des Moines at the time.
Des Moines, Iowa. And you hear the teachings of Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you're saying that you're going to accept. How did your family and friends feel?
My friends, my college friends, like warned me, don't do it. You're going to change. Don't do it. They were very much against it. And my father, he was not pleased, Brother Joshua. I was studying it and I was starting to change. And I remember the day that I like covered my hair, and I do believe I had on like a pillowcase or something. I just wanted to try to cover my hair. And my dad looked at me and he said, I'm going to tell you, you can't do that under my house, not under my roof. No, ma'am, And so I actually had to move out. I was put out of my home because of Islam, like right out the gate, so I had to find a place to live. And basically my family originally kind of, they really weren't happy about it. My dad always wanted me to be a lawyer. He wanted me to be like, he didn't understand. He didn't see any good coming out of Islam, because there was this theory like everyone in the nation was like an ex-con or a criminal, or like you go back to college. What are you doing with your life? So yes, it was not good. I got immediately tried.
Yes, ma'am. And were you ever able to resolve that with your parents?
My dad is an FOI, Brother Joshua. My dad raised me like an FOI. My dad, I don't know what he's talking about. If you're watching this, Dad, I've been telling you the whole time. So my dad was always super strict, like always. And he was a businessman. He always, whatever he put his mind to, he made it into a reality. They used to call him the man with the Midas touch. So he would just think of something. Like my dad had a GED, Brother Joshua, and he was reading blueprints. He worked as an engineer. My dad invented insulation. My dad, it was so easy for me to know that the black man is God because of my father, Larry Seals. Like he was that guy. And like how he raised us was like, being black is no excuse. You can do whatever you want to do, period. And, so he was like, so when I saw the minister, and, I was ready, like all this, I was like, yeah, that explains my dad. That explains everything that my dad used to teach us about, never letting anyone break you and not taking any excuses. So I feel like Allah knew, he knew exactly what he was doing. Although my dad's a hard man, I ain't gonna lie. He's hard. He's a hard man. I think my dad just, I'm a daddy's girl, and I think his main issue at this point is like me looking up to anybody more than him.
Mm, mm,
You know how
mm.
men are. So yeah. But they're very happy with how I've turned out and how their grandchildren have turned out. So they're very happy now.
Beautiful. All praises to Allah. Now you said your father's name. Who is your mother?
My mother's name is Roxanne. She goes by Roxy. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
They've
Well,
been married for 50 years this year. 50
mm.
years.
Well, salute
Yes.
to your
Yay,
parents as
mom.
well. And all right. Well, I wanted to ask you, law school. What?
Today's my mom's birthday, brother Joshua.
Hey, happy birthday to Roxy. Shout out to Roxy and the whole family.
Yes, happy birthday, mom.
Yes, ma'am. Now I wanted to ask you about law school. How was that?
Man, law school was challenging, brother Joshua. It was something that I had always wanted to do when I was younger, but I had kind of given up on it when I first came in the nation and got married and started having children. So I started law school when I was like 37 and I had four children, brother Joshua.
Mm,
And I was like a consummate soccer mom. They were in like 11 different activities between the four of them. We had soccer, singing lessons, piano, gymnastics. And so, of course, I'm in school. So my ex-husband, who is an amazing man, I can go off on a tangent about him too, because I just love him so much still. But he was working, he's a barber, and he had another business. And so I still had the responsibility of making sure my children were able to participate in their activities, were able to excel academically and also spiritually. So law school with a full family and responsibilities was very, very difficult.
mm.
But by Allah's grace, I made it through. I don't know how, because I rarely had time to study. I don't know how. Allah is God, y'all. Just lean on Him. I promise you. I
Beautiful.
promise.
Yes, ma'am. And what advice would you give to other students?
I would say just be prepared to work hard for what you want and be prepared to suffer. When you get into a mindset where you know you're going to suffer and you're going to accept suffering for greatness or for whatever your dream or goal is, I think then you can do anything. Like every time a sacrifice is called for, every time a late night of studying is called for, every time you have to give up something that you want to go do with your friends, it's a small act of sacrifice or suffering. But anything, including being near to Allah, is going to require that anyway. So why not start applying it now? Yeah. Y'all go out there and do it. And also to the older people that are in their 30s and whatnot, it's not too late. I've reinvented myself like 7 times, like at least 7 times already. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Wonderful. And what type of law do you practice?
Right now I do a lot of mediations. I do a lot, like family law. So mediations kind of spans all the different types of law because Joshua, most things are settled out of court, right? You know that the majority of litigation and things like that are usually settled out of court. You may file paperwork, but so mediation is, to me, in line with our principles as far as atonement, reconciliation, not running to court, especially with our brothers and sisters. So, really, all kinds of laws. So, business relationships, family relationships, legal issues. I try to get people to settle things out of court, right? So I want to say and I believe Brother Ishmael was talking about this in the recent courtship webinar that they did, that if you are, God forbid, obviously we want marriages to succeed in our nation, but if they're not, you all should be calling me to do your mediated, what I call it, the mediated divorce, which is where we work everything out in private. We do what's fair and just, and then we file a joint consented divorce, right? It keeps
Mm,
it from being nasty. It keeps it out of the public. It's a lot cheaper. You get the benefit of my knowledge, but you also get the benefit of not mishandling whatever happened and caused you to be in this situation. The way that you handle your divorce can have repercussions on you down the line with your children in the mosque community. You know, people are fighting it out and it's getting nasty. It's really not good for anyone. So I like to help people, you know, resolve their issues in general. I still work for Black Lawyers for Justice, and we're fighting police cases as we speak. So, you know, that's the history right there. So it just needs to be done. It needs to be done. There's too much killing of Black men and women now by the hands of the police. So I'm just all over. I'm all over the place, Brother Joshua.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
I
ma'am.
do what needs to be done. I do whatever needs to be done. You need whatever you need, call me first, okay?
All praise be to Allah. Speaking of calling you, what number or what email, how should people reach out to you to if they want your service?
I will give them my number. Here's my number. It is 480-772-7291. They can also go to my website, elitelegalservices.com or themuslimmediator.com. Just put in themuslimmediator.com. You can find me that way. Or you can email me at Hassane, Hassane, warrior, WARRIOR at gmail.com.
Excellent. And I just want to show you some love. People are showing you love all around the world. We can't wait to put this on YouTube. Thank you, Naima, saying Assalamu alaikum family. Sister Mahida, Assalamu alaikum family. Sister Tammy, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you all people who are watching all around the world. People saying they love you. Thank you. You're so beautiful.
Aww. Praise be to Allah.
Brother Nelson Ramos, Sister Miriam, says ASA family, Brother Nelson Ramos out of Massachusetts. Also our YouTube family. Shout out to We Them Boys, Brother Musa, Brother Kente, Sister Auntie, all of the YouTube people who are showing love, and Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, everything. We have a quick 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast, and we're coming right back to our sister, Dr. Hassane Muhammad. 1 second. You see how I pronounce that, Dr. Hassane? See how I got that?
You did good. You did
okay, good.
You're really good.
Please reach out to him if you need any of those services. Sister Miriam's ABC I Love Me children's book and coloring book, and now Spanish book, all 3 available on Amazon.com. Sister Naima's Stay on Point Dance Academy, LLC. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country, right here in the studios of Atlanta, Georgia. Dr. Henry Carter's King Henry Turkey Legs, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Brother Rashad Muhammad's COVID-19 Disinfected Cleaning Services, out of Chicago. Student Minister Sharif Muhammad's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, available on adulsharif.com. And lastly, Brother Joshua Muhammad's book, Cleopatra, as well as No Father, No Excuse, both available on Amazon.
Thank you all very much. And we also have Sister Sherry Muhammad with Asiatic Minds. 1 second. Here we go. Please enroll your children in AsiaticMinds.com. She teaches STEM virtually to young kings and queens all around the world. AsiaticMinds.com. They have an incredible faculty, staff, parents, and community. Shout out to the students and the Sister Sherry Muhammad of AsiaticMinds.com. Okay, right back to you, ma'am. I wanted to ask you about meeting the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and what were those circumstances?
Oh, wow. All praises due to Allah. And let me just say this, Brother Joshua. I also want to give my condolences to the family, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his family, and Brother Joshua's family. And may Allah just cover them and bless them and strengthen them and all of our nation. And so my time to meet the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Brother Joshua, I always knew I was going to meet him. I never doubted it. You know, before they talked about manifestation, I've always had things in my mind that I just believed in so strongly that they were going to happen. So I used to tell people, I'm going to meet the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan one day. I was just a rank and file, you know, young believer. But anyway, I went to how I ended up meeting the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is I joined the NOI Student Association under Brother Isaac, the Chicago division over there in at number 2, and we were going to Tuskegee. Do you remember when the minister was going to speak in Tuskegee?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so it was at that point that I was supposed to get to meet the minister, because we were told we were going to get to meet him in Tuskegee. And so we went down there like on cloud 9. It was me and the believers of the NOI Student Association. And as we were going through the weekend, the workshops and everything, they were just handing out pamphlets. There was like one color and another color. If you got one color, you didn't get to ask, and they gave me mine, and mine was like, I get to go to the justice workshop, which I thought was interesting because I was a law student, right? And so I go to the workshop and I see Attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz. He's teaching the workshop, right? And so I'm like, being from Iowa, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know he was in the nation, and all this stuff, right? So I went up to him and I was like, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a Muslim lawyer just like you. I want to help our people. And he was like, come on. He's like, I'm getting ready to step down as the head of the new Black Panther Party. I'm getting ready to start Black Lawyers for Justice. And that's all I needed to hear, because I was literally like, oh, you're about to start Black Lawyers for Justice? Can I help you? And he was like, yeah, come on, give me your number. And so from that point, so what I'm trying to say is I basically, Brother Attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz actually brought me with him to meet the minister. And so, and I want to make a point about that, because I did start NOI lawyers and law students before I met the Attorney Malik Shabazz, because in my mind I had a vision that if we could bring together all of the lawyers and law students, like mentoring, how you were saying that there are people going through. So I thought if we could create a network, we would be able to provide services in every single city, that you could go to your own Muslim attorneys. But because I wasn't known, I was just some sister from Iowa emailing Brother Arf, like, Brother Arf, will you please, and he told me later on when he met me, he's like, I didn't know who you were. I thought you was crazy. And if you know Brother Arf, that's a very realistic thing that he would say to somebody, like, I didn't know you. I thought you was crazy. And so, so I had started that program. So when he said Black Lawyers for Justice, a network of attorneys, I wasn't getting anywhere with the nation as far as because they didn't know me, which I understand now, but I was trying to do it. So I couldn't do it inside. So I had to go outside. And I'm sharing that because a lot of us are stuck, or we get stuck with I'm trying to make something happen inside of the nation, but sometimes you got to go outside to be brought back inside, right? And so you just keep your heart clean. Just know that Allah is always with you. If you trust in him, even though it looks like he's taking you this way or that way, because of my willingness, it needs to be done. So I'm going to take the opening that I have. Maybe Allah is doing something. And I can tell you, when people would see Brother Attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz and me representing the Nation of Islam, our people's hearts they felt so good to see that linking up of the new Black Panther Party and the Nation of Islam. And so we were helping with 10-10-15. So how I got to meet the minister is we were in Ohio, and we were helping with 10-10-15. We were getting buses, we were traveling. I went to Canada, I went all over the country, helping get people on these buses. I know that Attorney Zulu and myself, we all out of pocket, because of course we're just kind of, we're like the field slaves. We're not in-house, we out there working. You just got to kind of do it on your own. And so the momentum was just beautiful. And I also was asked to help with the 10-10-15 youth council. So I was also helping with that within the nation. And I don't know if you remember Brother Rashid Ali. He had brought the minister. Yes. Okay. So this is how I met Brother Jamil, my dear brother, Brother Student Minister Jamil, and Brother Rashid Ali, and some others. We were part of the youth council for the 10-10-15. And so when Brother Attorney Malik was asked to come meet the minister, he knew. I was like, please bring me with you. I want to so bad, you know. And so I got to come up and I got to have, you know, he had coffee and toast. And, you know, I was so nervous, Brother Joshua, but that was my first time. I didn't say anything, brother. I just listened and absorbed his light. I just had never seen anyone glow like that in person, like glow, glowing. And I just felt so honored and so thankful to Allah to just be able to be near the hem of his garment. And it's not because I'm a personality worship or a worshiper, but it's just how much him and his family's sacrifices changed the direction of my life and broke so many generational curses. How his work and his family's sacrifice saved my life. I wouldn't be a lawyer. I wouldn't be Hassane. I wouldn't have the amazing children that I have. I don't know honestly where I would be. So for me, there's just no amount of words that can really be expressed to how magnificent a man that he is, and how many people who had no hope when his light penetrates their darkness. I mean, you just begin a whole new rotation, Brother Joshua. Never think a lot enough for him. Never. Thank you, Brother Minister Farrakhan. If I never get a chance to see you and tell you, thank you if you hear this. And to your family, because people's families, when they're doing work for us, their families, you know, they sacrifice a lot. So I want to thank them too. Thank Allah for his family.
Yes, ma'am. Now you said, now you're an attorney.
Yes, sir.
Attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz, and you were saying that you all were in the field. Well, who's in the house if you were in the field? I need to know who's the house if you are in the field. Who's in the house? I need to know this.
Well, you know, I felt, you know, when I say that, I mean, like, there's attorneys that work for the nation, you know, that write the complaint. You know, you got like Brother Saad, Brother Arif, you got the nation's legal team that's like handling like major business with the lawsuits that come against the nation and stuff like that. But there is a need, Brother Joshua, like the rank and file, like the normal believers is like, hey, I got into an accident, or hey, I got into, you know. So when I say we're like out in the field, I mean, you know, with where you just kind of have to figure it out. You're not necessarily, you know, for example, I was going to and doing a lot of protests. I was in Texas for Sandra Bland. I was down in, oh my God, so many places. Mike Brown. I was doing protests in my city. I wasn't under any type of protection. So I'm traveling. I'm in dangerous situations. I actually had some scary stuff happen to me. But I wasn't, because I was just kind of on my own. So when I say there's those of us that are just in the field, but then I would see people coming in that were like sanctioned by the nation. They had security. They got out of cars, you know, like, I'm like, okay, I'm just me and Allah. It's just me and Allah out here, you know. I had people pull guns. I've had death threats. I've had the FBI at my door. Like, they knocked on my door, and people telling me that they were going to kill me, and just all kinds of stuff. And, you know, I'm just telling you the truth. Like, I'm gonna be very transparent. You know, it sometimes it hurts, because you're like, my children, I was worried, you know, with the work that we were doing and the anger that it was causing. And, you know, I had to sit down with mayors and governors, and, you know, and I'm holding the line, but at the same time, I called. I was like, hey, the FBI is at my door. Call headquarters. And that's like calling sometimes into a black hole. Don't be mad at me, y'all, but I'm talking to the believers, because the believers know what I'm talking about. I'm like, hey, I got this going on, you know. So that's what I mean, Brother Joshua. And that is part of it. You know, my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, and my death are all for Allah, you know. And so when he gave me the name Hassane, which means warrior, I was like, okay, this is what.
When you say he gave you, who gave you?
Well, I was going through a lot in my first marriage, and I was actually praying to Allah
Mm,
for answers, because you should, because you gave your word to Allah. And when you make a decision to get a divorce, it's not something you should do without sincere prayer and reflection and counseling. And I was doing all of that. I think I struggled with it for over 10 years. I didn't just bounce, you know what I mean? And so I would go into these deep meditations after prayer about my family,
mm,
about my word to Allah. And I was agonizing. I was starting to have like anxiety attacks and all kinds of stuff was happening because I was at war with myself.
mm.
And I went in to talk to Allah about my marriage. And when I was in this meditation, I walked up into this like crystal city, and
Okay.
inside there was this like podium, like as though like you, and there was a book on it, a big book, and it's like a voice in my head was like, open the book. And I opened the book and I saw the name written out, Hassane. And so even though I'm in a meditation, I'm seeing it and I'm hearing it in my voice. And I was like, okay, what is this? I was like, because my mind wanted to say Hassan, Hassana. And he was like, no, that's your name, right? And I was like, okay, but what does it mean? And literally in my meditation, he's like, Google it. I mean, I'm just being honest, okay? All right. So I was like, okay, this is fine. I don't know what this has to do with my marriage because I wasn't, and this was way before the minister started, telling people to take, this was like a long time ago. I'm going to say like 17 years ago, right?
Mm,
So
mm.
I saw the name Hassani, and then I was shifted into another reality or room, and I was on a table, and I was being operated on. My heart, I could see, it was like I was looking down and I could see my heart being operated on. It was like it was being taken out. I was really weird, right? And I saw all of that, and this is my vision. I'm not saying this was a lie. I'm just telling you what I saw.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am. Yes,
I saw
ma'am.
the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Master Farah Muhammad, and the minister in this. So when I was given my name, I have a hard time answering that. Like, yeah, they gave me my name, and so that procedure was done, and then I was given a sword in my hand in the meditation. And so I was clearly, I'm a mom, right? I'm really girly. Like, I'm not, like, I'm just, like, what's happening right now? And so when I came out of the meditation, I went and I Googled like Hasade, what does that mean? And there was only one thing I could find in the entire internet, and it was the Hassane were descendants. It's a title and a rank given to the original Muslim warriors. That's
Mm.
literally what it said. And I was like, what? And so you know what I did? I shut down. I was like, see, I know one thing. When Allah gives you a name, it's a trial, it's a test. So I didn't use the name Hassane for a while because one, it did have kind of a masculine energy to it, initially. And two, if I'm going to be a warrior, that means that I'm about to go through hell. I'm about to go through hell. And so I ran from the name for some years. I didn't use it. And then I don't really recall what made me just like come out with Hassane, but I just came out with it.
Mm.
And um, was I right, Brother Joshua? Yes, I was.
Mm, mm,
Did Allah start testing me? Yes, he did.
mm.
Yes, yes, yes. Hmm.
Yes, ma'am. And could you give us an example of when you had to overcome one of those trials?
Oh my gosh. Oh, I feel like I've been fighting for the last like years and years. I told you about, having to stand my ground with the FBI, with, people threatening my family, when we were really, really going strong on, the police brutality thing. That required a level of bravery. I actually had to leave. I left my children in Iowa for a time because I feared for their safety. you know, because I was in Iowa. What prompted me to move to Chicago was because of the threats and the government and all of those things. Also, being in a study group, another thing that was really difficult for me was when our studies group started to fall apart. You know, I had to try and fight through the red tape and the bureaucracy of the Nation of Islam to try to get justice for us, to try to get access for us. And so, Brother Joshua, for 7 years, I wrote the headquarters. For 7 years, I left messages. I went through at least two of Brother Ishmael's secretaries. I wrote nice and not so nice messages to Brother Saad. You know, when he began, like, I went through the Birth of the Nations program, all of these things. 7 years, I wrote letters asking for help in Iowa, asking for, I was like, you guys got all those people in that ministry class. Can you send someone down here? We don't have a minister. We don't. And so it got so bad that Brother Ishmael, he called me the pleading woman. He gave me he's like, oh, Sister Hassane, you're the pleading woman. Oh my God, you know. But I didn't give up. So I mean, it might not seem like a little thing, but it is a fight when we're out here and all we have is our nation. And sometimes things don't operate in our nation in a way that feels just all the time. And so you have to battle within yourself to not let it affect your heart. You know what I mean? Or slow you down, or like Allah made me. So if Allah makes you, he should nobody else be able to break you that he made. You gonna let a created thing break you? When Allah went all out of his way to get you, Hassane? You know, so those are fights. I mean, those are struggles. You know, I'm in a struggle right now. You know, I'm in a struggle with my health. I want to be at my best, and that's a fight too. And that a lot of believers face. So facing fear, facing dogs, facing imprisonment, facing losing my license, just a lot of things have made me feel that, okay, I understand why I have to dig deep sometimes into the warrior mode, even though I really don't like to do it, but you got to do it sometimes. You got to do it.
Beautiful, beautiful. All praises. Like, yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for fighting, Dr. Hassane. Thank you for fighting. People are showing you love all around the world. Brother Son is clapping for you. Sister Bora, Deborah, my uncle, Minister Jamil, who you spoke of earlier.
Brother Jamil, assalamu alaikum, and Sister Tisha, assalamu alaikum, beautiful wifey.
It's good to see the great mind and spirit of Sister Hassane People's Podcast. Praise be to Allah. She's a strong and brave MGT. And Sister Diana says, all praise due to Allah. Thank you all who were watching. Okay.
Well, can I give a shout out to 32, my brother Halim, and my fellow classmates in the ministry class, and to my dear sisters in 74, Sister Kaya, Sister Anita, and my boys, my nephews. Okay, thank you, Brother Joshua. I just wanted to give out a little shout out.
We got rep your set. 74, 32, you know what's going on.
74, yes, 32. I love both of y'all. I love y'all. Brother Nuri, I love Brother 74. But Sister Kaya, that's my heart. Sister Anita and my boys over there. Love y'all.
Excellent. Yes, ma'am. And my sister Naima says she loves your spirit. Thank you, Naima, for saying you love her spirit. She loves your spirit.
Thank you, Sister Naima.
And shout out to student minister Halim I never met him in person, but every time I interview him, it's nothing but love, and he's just beautiful spirit representing.
He's magnificent. He's magnificent. He is a wordsmith. I tell him all the time, I've never seen anyone put things together the way that he does. I'm very, very honored to be in his class in the ministry. I thank Allah for him. Mm-hmm.
He definitely can teach, and he doesn't believe in notes. When I have to interview him or something, he's like, "No, brother, let's run with it. Let's just go." Yeah. I'm like, "Okay, you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, let's just run with it."
Just run with it. Yes,
ma'am. So I wanted to ask you about litigation, right? So I had a conversation yesterday. That's why it all ties in synchronicity.
Mm-hmm.
The gender wars, the men versus the women, and the brothers and the sisters, and you seeing the divorces, and you seeing this, and there's somebody who's the single people who watching coming up saying, well, man, I don't want to go through this mess. I don't want to go. what advice would you give to people to keep wanting to still, if you know it's going to be litigation and people divorce it, it's all on the news, celebrities divorce, breakup, and you deal with that every day. How do you keep believing in love and telling young people to believe in love if that's what you deal with every day?
Oh my God, that is a great question. I see why people love your interview style. I am a firm believer in love. I
Mm-hmm.
and I've been divorced, and I deal with people getting divorced and their dreams shattered, right? Their dream of love, their belief in love. But the reason why we cannot give up is because we know that Satan has a hand in the most important institution to a lot is marriage, is family. So of course Satan is going to attack it. Of course you're going to see so many people breaking up because he wants to break your spirit and your belief in what he created. So did Allah create marriage or not? Yes, he
Mm.
did. Did he say it was half his face? Yes, he did. So I'm going to deny all this other stuff that I see around me. I'm focusing on Allah and what Allah says. And Allah says, get married and go through the struggle and don't worry about how it's going to turn out. If it doesn't turn out, guess what? Get back up and go at it again, because there's something that you're going to extract from that, and you have to be brave. See, that's the thing now. We are always being overwhelmed with this didn't work and that didn't work and there's people breaking up, and so then you get the older believers, they're so full of fear. And Allah does not want us to be afraid. That is the one thing I do not think he likes. Fearing him, yes, but you
That's
scared
right.
to get married? Oh man, I don't know if that's gonna work. Oh, he might break my. You don't even sound like a Muslim right now. You don't even sound like a follower of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. If you're scared
Mm-hmm.
of marriage, and so, I mean, no, you can't be fearful. You can't. I mean, if you keep Allah in the center of your marriage, talk to people. I think it's a mistake to only talk to people who have had perfect marriages, or, like our parents that have been married forever. I think that those of us who've made mistakes, like I made a lot of mistakes in my marriage, Brother Joshua. I have to say, I would say 90% of the problem was me, not my
Mm.
ex-husband. And so I have a perspective and a knowing that could benefit someone so that they don't make the same mistakes. Number one, we have to be a lot more patient in our marriages. Number two, stop being the Muslim police in your house. Like, no one wants to come home to that. Like, sometimes your spouse is going to be on their journey, and their journey may be different than yours. And when we're young in Islam and we're like so judgmental, even with our spouses, we bring it home. Oh my God, are you going to visit something? You didn't telephone a call. You didn't go to a meeting. It's like, ooh, like, calm down, girl, calm down. Like, I was like that. I was counting his, like, he didn't pray with me this morning. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. And I'm thinking I'm extra Muslim, you know what I'm saying? And then, you might run into this person that you think is so much better because you see them doing certain things that are outwardly Islamic, and you get fooled. And so then you leave something that's good, and Allah judges the heart. That's what we really have to remember that. So I would say, be fearless, and Allah is love. And the nation should be full of love, full of marriages, full of just positivity. No matter what a Satan is doing, we know Satan's going to do what he do, but Master Prophet Muhammad did come. So we already won. Like, we already won. So you should be okay in your marriage. If you really want to be okay, you can be okay.
Mm.
Don't be afraid.
Beautiful. So you're saying me and Beyonce we have a chance to last and not end up in litigation with you? Is that what you're saying?
Beyonce would be lucky to have you, Brother Joshua.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna call her.
Thank you. Let me know. Let me know. And people are saying teach and what. Everybody's bearing witness and showing love all around the world. Okay, my next question for you that I wanted to ask you is, what type of music do you enjoy listening to, ma'am?
Okay, now this is where it's going to require a little explanation, and I know my girlfriends are laughing. I love Hosier. Okay, Hosier, that's what I listen to pretty much 24/7 is Hosier. He is my favorite artist, hands down. Now, he's Irish. He happens to be Caucasian. Okay, have you ever heard the song Take Me to Church? Take me to church, I worship like a dog in the side of your life. I'll tell you my sins so you can sharpen your knife. You ever heard that?
No, ma'am. I'm going. I enjoy people putting me on the good music. So people podcast, we big in the music. So everybody out there, all the affiliates, let's make sure we listen. Hozier, how do we spell that?
Hozier. He's Irish. His lyrics. Okay, so I am actually a lyricist, right? So
Okay.
I'm all about the words and the wordsmithing, and I'm just gonna say it. Hozier is like top tier. He's top tier.
Mm.
His lyrics are so beautiful and deep. Like his last album, Unreal Unearthed, is based on Dante's Inferno. It is just so
Mm.
complex, and it's just, and the symphony and the music, it's just, oh, I'm telling you. But people laugh. They laugh. I like, it sounds like rock and roll, you know, and I'm from Iowa, so you know they be dragging me, Brother Joshua, but I do not care. I'm a Hozier stan. Yes, you will hear rock music in my car. Yes, you will.
I'm
Sorry,
from
y'all.
Naperville. I'm from Naperville, so I love rock and roll. And my sister Naima said she loves the song "Take Me to Church." Naima, thank you for not putting me on because I didn't know she knew
Yeah.
about that. Didn't
Thank
tell
you,
me.
Sister Naima, for backing me up. So I'm not the only Muslim. I don't want them to pull my black card and my Muslim
Uh,
card, but
yeah.
it's
Sister
all
Ayana said
Hosea over
yes,
here.
ma'am. She likes them too. And then Sister Mary says this sister is so solid. This is Sister Mary's first time watching, so she's saying
Oh,
this is so solid. And
Allah.
and then my uncle, Mr. Jamil, says Hozier is like the Irish Wilson Pickett.
Yes, thank you, Brother Jamil. Thank you for putting it in the context.
Excellent. Well, y'all put me on the Jose. I like, learning about some new people. I'm more Chris Stapleton and One Dominion right now, but shout out
Okay,
to
okay.
Jose.
Yeah, shout
Um,
out to Hosier.
yes, ma'am. What advice would you give to future mothers?
Ooh, ooh, I'm so glad you asked me that. Because let me tell you, out of everything in my life that I've ever done, the thing that I am most proud of is my children, you
Mm,
know. Um, and again, before I met or came in contact with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the last thing you would have tried to drag me kicking and screaming to have children. That was
mm,
like literally my nightmare scenario, Brother Joshua, was to be married and have children. Like, that's not me. I'm so not that person. But let me explain. Being a mother is divine. And I can look at each of my children and what I was dealing with and thinking, and how it was literally written on their minds and in their personalities. It's such an honor to be a mother. And I know it's overwhelming at times, but I will just say it's the best and greatest thing I've ever done. I have four children: Mecca Maryam Muhammad, Aziza Aliyah Maryam Muhammad, Farah Adan Maryam Muhammad, and Nasir Sharif Muhammad. And I named them all because, you know, I had like divine revelation as far as what their name should be. But one of my daughters is a public relations specialist. She did my
okay.
lighting and everything to make sure I was looking cute for today.
Good. Shout
And
out.
then my other daughter is about to graduate as an architect at UIC in Chicago. She's working at the Art Institute. My son is a barber like his dad, so he's barbering and cutting hair, making his own money. And my youngest, Farah Adan, she just went to Yale. Yay, Farah. And of course, she's studying law. So I respect parenthood greatly, and I sacrificed a lot, you know, for my children. Um, I didn't get to travel. I didn't get to do a lot of things. I didn't drive a fancy car because I had them in gymnastics. I had them in piano. I had them in soccer. All that stuff costs money. You know what I'm saying? It costs a lot of money. And so when I looked up, I hadn't done a lot of things for myself. But when I saw how my children were turning out, and the fact that they're kind human beings, that they have good hearts, that they care about people. Um, I remember when I was pregnant with them, every one of them, I did the Kunta Kinte prayer. That's what I call it, Brother Joshua.
Yes, ma'am.
Where you like lift them up and you're like, I dedicate this life to you, oh Allah, you know, and I cherish them in that way. And I don't care what they're doing. I know who they belong to. You know what I mean? I know
Mm,
who they
mm,
belong to. And so as mothers, you have so much power. And I feel like even in the nation, we can do better with respecting mothers. and especially single mothers, and I'm grateful to Allah that I had to, I grew up with both my parents, and then I was married for 17 years and I had my babies. But then that moment when Allah allowed me to see what a single mother goes through, for the time that I was there, it was just, I mean, I have so much respect. Like, I know I could not have done the whole thing by myself. I just could not have done it. So I hope that people in the nation get married. I hope that we do more blended families. I hope that we overcome our fears and all of our trauma, and that we come together as a strong nation. Because, like, I was courting a brother, and sometimes our people have more wisdom than we have. We have too much wisdom. We get so caught up, we can't even make a decision because we have too much information. And I was courting a brother, and he was like, I'm just hung up on the fact that you have children, right? And he said that he went to his barber, and he was like, I like this sister, but she has children. And the barber, a lost found, said, but I thought that in the Muslim community they were your children anyway, because the ummah. And so it took this lost found brother to give him another perspective, like, those sisters with those children, those are y'all nephew, those are y'all children too. That there should not be this separation. So I don't know about, don't get me on these Kevin Samuelites or anything like that, because I've had Facebook wars. I think I have hate groups on Facebook from some of the brothers, because I was kind of defending, because I go by what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says about. I didn't see nothing in there when he was saying that women have no value if they have children. I didn't see anything from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that said, you don't marry a woman if she has children. I didn't see anything from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that said if a woman is over 35, she should be on this clearance rack. And so when I saw FOI, I was like, I ain't on nobody's clearance rack. You can believe that. I totally reject all of that. So, but when I saw that episode going on in our nation, where we're taking on other popular mentalities which are detrimental to building a nation, like brothers are saying, yeah, they have children, I'm not doing them. Like, we're in the nation of Islam. If you don't bring it to me from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, or Master Farad Muhammad, then what are we talking about? We got supreme wisdom. We have the supreme knowledge. So even if someone's bringing something, it should be filtered through what we already know. And so, I'm an advocate for marriage, for mothers, for single mothers. And, I love children, all the children. They're all ours, and we're all responsible for them. So all praises due to Allah.
Beautiful. Yes, ma'am. And I believe in the Ummah as well. So all the sisters, all of the children belong, and the women as well. It's our job to maintain and protect all the sisters. So shout out to all. Thank
you, Brother Joshua. Are you married?
No, ma'am, I'm not married.
Okay.
I'm not married. Brother,
I also believe in Muslim matchmaking. Okay, y'all. So Brother Joshua's not married out there, sisters. Okay.
Anybody who's ever followed me on social media, like, oh yeah, Joshua's definitely single. Brother Michael says ASA family. And he said this is deep. What you said about the children. That's a big thing with the brothers. They ain't got no clearance. Muhammad ain't got no clearance rack. Let's clear that up right now.
Yes, yes.
Beautiful. And people were saying this is amazing. So like Yana said, public relations and media is her specialty. She loves that field. Yes. Wonderful. And speaking of that, like, as well as your children, I would love to interview them as well as the sister talking about the media. If everybody who wants to come on People's Podcast, just message me like Dr. Hassane did. And I was like, hey, let's make it happen. So people think that I have this Rolodex of people who I interview, but it comes from word of mouth and people just reaching out. Hey, I do this. Hey, I do that. I'm like, hey, that's what the People's Podcast is for. So someone who does media relations, by all means, just message me and we'll set the interview up. Okay. I've learned a lot. And shout out to all of the future attorneys that are coming up behind you. Because you founded the Black, I want to get it correct. What did you found the Black Lawyer?
NOI Lawyers and Law Students. And I was the COO, Chief Operations Officer at Black Lawyers for Justice. It was started by Attorney Shabazz. Well, he had just started it. And then, I came on and it became a reality. You know how women do. It's like you have an idea and then you deposit it in the woman and she multiplies it, right? And it becomes real, right? So we did a lot of good work, a lot of things that I was proud of. The Freddie Gray, we did a huge rally for Freddie Gray. It was on CNN. They didn't give us credit. So anyone that was watching that Freddie Gray, it was huge. It was like on CNN all day, that whole march. That was Black Lawyers for Justice. And that was Sister Hassane too, typing behind her computer in Iowa. Like, I was like, I'm running the world from Iowa back here. So the woman is powerful. All praise is due to Allah, of course. But I'm just saying that, you know, we did a lot to help try and get justice for our people. And we went into Texas for Sandra Bland. I mean, just all over the place, just everywhere that there was an injustice. And the nation worked. How I met a lot of the ministers and a lot of the laborers in the nation is through that work and going into cities. And, you know, they would, the nation, the FOI would come out and we would work together with Black Lawyers for Justice. So then I was able to come back to my nation. Now they know me because of I having to go outside and do what you got to do and come back in. And so that's how I met Sister Ati when she invited me down for the family conference to speak on justice. And that was my first time being invited into the nation of it, into my home. That's where my heart is, you know? So I was very, very honored to speak on justice. And then the minister came in that Sunday and spoke. So that was a blessing. And that's the second time I met the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And it's so funny, Brother Joshua. So what I didn't know was like how bad I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, but I didn't know how bad like the personality fandom thing was, because when you're from Iowa and you don't have a lot of laborers, you don't know the minister's family. Like, I still can't tell you who everybody is. I just go by the spirit. I remember one time a sister came into the study group in Chicago, and the way she was, I just fell in love with her. I found out later she was one of the minister's children or nieces or something like that, but I didn't know. I could only judge people by their energy and what was coming out of their mouths, and she was magnificent. And so I'm saying that to say, while we were in Atlanta, people were like trying to get in this line to meet the minister, Brother Joshua, and it was vicious. There was a vicious undertone. I mean, do people talk about the truth? It was like, get out the way, like I'm in line, and like people was like they were gonna sell their soul to get a picture or something with the minister. And I was with a brother, one of the brothers that I work with, and he was just like, "Come on, let's get in this line." I was like, you know, I'm not that person. It doesn't mean that I don't love and adore, like it's a sober love I have, but I'm not the type of person that's going to jostle in line and buy my way in or, you know, anything like that. So I was like, you know, I'm not going to do it. So I left, and I was like, you know, I just won't get to meet the minister. If it requires me to do something that to me lowers myself, or that I feel like I'm not in an Islamic spirit right now. You know, the spirit of Islam had left me, and I felt like it had left the people around me. So I bowed out. And you know what Allah did? So I'm walking through the airport, got a little hat on, look to my left, there's the minister right there. Just smile. And I was like, now I had like, there was no line, there was no forcing. It was just like Allah said, here you go, Hassane, you know? And I walked over and I gave him a hug, and he told me that he loved me, and I told him I loved him too. And this was right before I was going to Chicago. And I will say this, just meeting the minister does not mean that you don't do dumb stuff, okay? So while I was talking to the minister, I was like, Minister, I'm coming to Chicago. I'm going to start Muhammad Law. I'm going to move there. I'm going to come to the street. I'm going to make sure we get justice. And he just looked at me. He kind of frowned a little bit, Brother Joshua. I remember that. But I blocked it out of my head, like, because I'm determined. I'm going to Chicago, right? Like, it's going to be all right. But he kind of was like, he had to look like, oh, you should go to Chicago. Like, it was like a transmission, right? But in my mind, I had already like started the process, right? And when he said Chicago is a meat grinder, he did not lie. When I tell you I was tried to my bones, let me just say this. I drove into Chicago in my black Mercedes Benz with like $20,000 in my bank account. And a couple years in Chicago, I was on the J13. The bus. So when I tell you that I look back and I think about the minister knew, it's like, it ain't gonna go like you think it's gonna. And I want people to know that, because people get these ideas like, okay, you're a lawyer, you're this, you're that. Like, people don't go through financial hardships, people don't get their heart broke, people don't, I go through everything that anybody else goes through. Allah is always going to try you. You want to be with me? You say you want to be purified? Are you sure about that? Because you're going to pay a high price for this wisdom, Mr.
Right.
I would pray, I want to be so close to you, Allah. I want to always feel, you know how you feel when Allah is with you?
Yes,
you
ma'am.
know that feeling, but it's just like the best feeling ever, and you don't ever want it to leave. So I was just praying like, Allah, I just want to be with you, and not knowing that how that looks, Brother Joshua, is pain. It's I'm gonna come between. You think being a lawyer makes you great? Well, I'm gonna bring you to Chicago, and you ain't gonna pass the bar, right? It's because every state you gotta. I'm like trying to pass the bar in Chicago. I can't pass the bar to save my life. That affects my money. That affects what I'm trying to do. Allah, why? Why would you? Well, because I didn't come to Chicago being the most humble sister. I just didn't. Like I told you, I came down there like, I got this, And so I thank Allah. And I remember walking to the train, Brother Joshua, tears, just hot tears, just rolling down my eyes, because I had felt like I lost everything that made me me. I mean, me and Zulu fell out. I think everybody knows the history, because after 10-10-15, a lot of stuff happened. I'll have to come on another show and tell you about all the stuff that happened. But he kind of, as he was expressing his feelings about the minister, as a registered member of Nation of Islam, me and him fell out. He'll tell you we fell out. And so everything that made me who I thought I was, Allah took it away. He took it all away. And he took it all away. And I even got fat on top of that. Come on, Allah, really? Because the stress, I'm in Chicago, I come really cute. I was really cute. And then, it's just everything and I was just like tears of like, and I was walking and I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this. Like, I don't know that I want to continue to live without being who I am, and struggling like this. And I remember like Allah's voice coming to me saying, start counting every blessing, like everything. He said, I want you to be grateful for everything, Hassane, everything. And he said, and I will give it all back to you. And so I'm walking, and I'm crying, and I'm like, I'm on a freaking train. I have no car. They refill, like I'm literally, and I'm being transparent. And if you're crazy enough to judge me, that's on you. Because let me tell you, I've been down that road judging people. You think Allah is chastising them. You don't know that Allah is answering their prayer to bring them closer to Him. He's stripping them to get down to their core. And if you get to your core and you find that light, and you find that you're still a Muslim, and you find that you still want Master Farrakhan Muhammad, then you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And don't worry about what people think, because all of us that are really have anything to say or know who they are, it's because of what we've been through. So I got on that train and I said, I thank Allah for this driver. I thank Allah for these boots, because it was cold. I got off the train. I was like, I got on the bus back home. I thanked Allah for the J14 that was helping me get to work and back. I literally was thanking Allah for whoever made the tank doors and the heater and little everything. And do you know, Brother Joshua, that my reality started to change when I started to be grateful for every little thing. Amazing. And the wisdom that Allah deposited in me, that Allah gave me. From that, I couldn't have bought it. There was no way for me to get that except to go through something. Yeah. Don't say I miss Chicago though. No offense. I love y'all. But I'm so happy to be in Phoenix. I'm just that kind of flower. I need to be in the sunshine, okay? The cold winters, I'm done with that. But I love y'all. Y'all some soldiers up there. So yeah, this journey to be with Allah is not for the faint of heart, but there's still so much joy in it. You find yourself falling in love with Master Farad Muhammad, you know, you do, even when he's trying you, because the reward, you know, if you stick with it, is
Right.
so indescribable. You know what I'm saying? I think most Muslims have felt that energy of Allah just covering you
Yes,
and guiding
ma'am.
you and healing you. I mean, we have the best, greatest, most magnificent God that ever existed. And he deposited himself in us. It's just like, I was like, I don't care what's going on. We won. Like, Brother Joshua, we won. Like, even if you can't pay your bills next week, believers, it's okay. Like, literally, this is all just fleeting. This is fleeting. Hold on to your Islam. Know that Master Farah Muhammad, he's working out everything he said, everything he promised us. If we don't get it, if, you know, people are passing away, that's true. But we know, I know my grandchildren, I know that your grandchildren, I know that any little thing that any believer does now to advance the cause to help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is laying this new foundation. So it's like rising above yourself and thinking about the whole. You know, we're struggling, but we're trying to build something here. So our lives are not going to be just linear. Like, this is not. And who would want that? That's boring.
Right. That's right.
That's boring. My life has not been boring, Brother Joshua, but some of it's probably not appropriate for this medium.
Beautiful. You teaching. You teaching, baby. And people, and let me tell you, all of the sisters are snap fingering and clapping and showing love all around the world. The brothers as well. But I'm just going with the sisters because I see, like, yes, ma'am, you are sister teaching. Sister Tam said, may Allah continue to bless you, sister. You're so beautiful. Your transparency is so refreshing. We needed this testimony. Sister Mary said we need more leadership like you in the mosque. People, oh Allah, teach this. Microphone drops. Boom. Waiting to exhale. Waiting to inhale. This is what the sisters needed. Whatever. All of that great stuff. Yeah, people just showing you love, and you know, prayer hands and hearts, and people just showing you love. So I'm glad that I hope you're receiving all the positive energy that we're sending to you. Okay, you and attorney Malik Zulu, did that ever rectify? Y'all okay? Everybody at home?
Yes, we are okay. And one of the things with, you know, we have to recognize that I had to grow as a Muslim too, because my whole goal was to get Zulu to join the nation. When I found out he wasn't in the nation, I'm like, you should be in the nation, you know. So we want what we love and what we think is right. A lot of times in our development, I spent a lot of time like debating with Zulu and trying to get him to be what I thought he should be, you know, not understanding that there are so many things that have to be covered with what Allah's plan is. You know, there's engineering that needs to be done. There's people that need to be touched in these areas. And so what I had to learn was that I had to trust Allah more, because when you really trust Allah, you know that everything is working for him.
That's
so
right.
Even if this person isn't going the same route that you want them to go, or doing the things you think they should do, is Allah using that person to help in this cause? And if so, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what Allah is doing. So I try to like mind my journey. I signed my letter. I said I'm with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That is my duty. But that doesn't mean that Allah says I have sheep that are not of this fold. So where me and Zulu are, we are good. I let him do what he's doing. And, you know, I think in the end, Allah is using every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess. There's nobody outside the scope of Allah, Master Farah Muhammad. So we need to stop trying to control and like make people fit into this very narrow view when Islam is universal and Allah has got this whole thing covered. He's deposited himself. It's all his. Like, it's all his. So sometimes I think in our development, in my lack of development, you know, has brother Zulu said some things that, yeah, we fight. I mean, I'll tell him about himself. He'll tell me about myself. That's our relationship. But at the end of the day, the work that he's doing and the way that I feel he's very inspiring, it was him and Sister Ava that really inspired me to become a lawyer, because I had heard of Zulu. I had heard of Malik Zulu Shabazz, And I had said to myself, I'm going to meet him one day. It's just another manifestation, you know? So yeah, but we're good. We're good. We are really, really good. And I'm allowing Allah to work, because the minister, when we were at the dinner table, the minister had very positive things to say about Attorney Shabazz. And he told him, you have not reached the mountaintop yet of your greatness, of where you're going to go. And so I believe minister knows better than we do. So I can't go by what other people think about. If I hear the minister say something, then, and I just have to wait for it to come into fruition. So don't get so caught up on people's tops, their turns and twists and their downfalls, because we are not the best knower. We don't know how people are going to end up. Yes, we don't associate with people in bad standing, but Zulu was never in the Nation of Islam. And when I felt like things had went too far, I pulled back, you know. And so there's been a lot of atoning and a lot of, you know, so you don't know where people are right now. Sometimes we hold them in that space that we knew them. Like, we can look at everyone who's ever left the nation. They always try to, before they get cut off by Allah, you know, did Brother Khalid want to come back? And yes. Did Brother Malcolm want to come back? Yes. So, I mean, had Allah, if Allah allows you to live to come back, that's a mercy. So, yes, we're good. We're good. I told him I was coming on, and he was very happy for me. But, you know, I had to find myself and my purpose and my calling, because I've helped a lot of people, a lot of things that have happened in the nation. I have had a hand in, by Allah's grace, but I haven't always been acknowledged. You know what I mean? And so I say to people, I'm saying to everyone out there that's listening, you should tell your story. It doesn't mean that you're arrogant or whatever, but you shouldn't just allow yourself to be written out of history. So no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell the truth. You know, yeah, I helped start Black Literature. I helped make it what it is. And among other things, you know, I've helped with certain litigations in the nation. When Brother Robert, you know, may Allah be pleased with him, you know, when he was murdered, allegedly murdered, you know, there were a team of us that helped do research. I helped with that. When the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was being about to be censored by the, you know, they always want to censure him, and
yes, ma'am.
You know, and I helped Brother Arif with you know, drafting a response to that.
Go ahead.
I've
Go
helped
ahead.
with 1015. I've helped with, like, literally, I've been there, y'all. I've been in the background. And when, you know, and I know we're going to talk about Sister Ava, may Allah be pleased, I hope so, you know, and about how she really was the focal point of why I became who I am and the path that I took as a Muslim woman. And, you know, I wanted to talk about Project Separation. Yes. If you want, do you want me to talk about it?
I'm saying right here with you. I'm just taking notes. Go ahead. Okay. I'm doing litigation. Go ahead.
So when I came in the nation, I would say, thinking about, like, being a Black nationalist. I had that mentality, like, oh my God, Black people, we about to be free, we about to get justice, you know. So I had that mentality. And when I came in the nation, a lot of the focus for the women was on, like, cooking, cleaning, having babies. Now, remember what I told you, that was not at all what I was interested in. So I felt like I kind of got tricked, you know, like, I was like, wait a minute, everybody's so concerned about the hem of my garment. Everybody's so concerned about, like, what I'm wearing on my head. Like, I thought we was about to fight white people and, like, get free. You know what I'm saying? I was disappointed in what I saw was available to me as a Muslim woman. And when I heard about Sister Ava, so I thought I had to give up, because, you know, I always wanted to be a lawyer, but I thought I had to give that up. I was like, oh my God, I'm just going to be cooking, cleaning, and raising children. Now, you heard what I said earlier. I don't take that back, but I need to address this, because there are sisters like me in the nation, and they need to hear this. So I did all of those things, Brother Joshua. I started sewing. I was a crappy sewer. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. But I did it, right? Because we were so poor, me and my husband, that I made all my clothes and all my daughter's clothes, but they were not good. right? And then I was doing all this stuff. I was just doing all kinds of stuff at home, but I was so unfulfilled as a woman. And when I heard, I was like, Dr. Ava's a lawyer and she's a minister and she's a Muslim. It was like, oh my God, I can be all these. I don't have to just, bake cookies and, whatever. And so I just really literally started, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a lawyer and I'm going to be a Muslim and I'm going to figure it out how to make it work. And I really want to encourage the mothers out there to not give up on your dreams and what makes you unique as a Muslim, because we can't all be cookie cutters. Like, I look at our captain and I'm like, she's amazing, our national captain, but that's not me. I'm over here doing what I'm supposed to be doing, So my mother came to visit me one day, Brother Joshua.
Yes, ma'am.
And you know how we are when our family's not in the nation. Or maybe you may not know this, but when your family's not in the nation, you're very protective of the nation. You never want to say anything because they're already on your neck about the nation, right? And so my mom had came to visit me. We were really, really poor. I was teaching school. I had started Elijah Academy out of my basement. I was teaching all the believers' children $15 a week. I would feed them. I taught them math, science, everything for $15 a child. Can you imagine that?
Go ahead, Elijah Academy. Go ahead, sister.
Elijah Academy, yes. I was teaching them everything out of the Message to the Black Man, all the sciences. We had songs. It was beautiful. But my mom came to visit me and she just looked at me and she was like, I know you're going to tell me you're happy and that everything is great with the nation. She said, but I can look at you. You're my child. I know that you're miserable. And I was like, no, ma'am, I am not. You just don't like Islam. You just don't want to hear, So I was a zealot. I wasn't trying to hear nothing that would look bad on the nation or Minister Farrakhan. And so, but when I shut the door, Brother Joshua, when she was out of range, I broke down crying because in my soul, I knew I wasn't happy, but I felt guilty because why aren't you happy doing what God told you to do? Why are you not happy being a mom, just being a mom? Why aren't you happy being at home all day, And so I would just say to the sisters, and for some women, some of my sisters loved it. They were happy, but don't compare yourself to anyone else because you may be born like Dr. Ava had a purpose. Look at all that she left us. Look at the body of work that she left us. Had she not answered the calling on her soul, where would we be? So don't be afraid to do something that might seem a little bit outside of the path. If it's Allah calling you and he deposited something, a yearning in you, don't ignore that. Don't ignore that. So she was my light at the end of the tunnel. And I was introduced to Dr. Wesley from Zulu, from attorney. I call him Zulu, y'all. Attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz. Okay, it's a lot to say, so I call him Zulu. So Zulu introduced me to Dr. Wesley before Dr. Wesley moved to Chicago and got married and all those things. He was going around, teaching hard. And I love Dr. Wesley. I would follow him and his debate style. So just backtracking, I was also one of those people on Facebook before we got the social media guidelines. I cut my teeth on debating back in the day. I would just get on page, spend all day long. Now, I should have known that this was a clue because I was a bored housewife. And so any Minister Farrakhan haters, I was on their page typing it was always a fight, right? And I didn't really realize, I enjoyed defending the minister and defending the teachings, And so I forgot where I was going with that. But
Dr. Wesley,
Dr. Wesley. Okay, yeah. So I admire Dr. Wesley too. And when I had a chance to meet him, because Attorney Shabazz had invited him to speak at an event, And, I was always on Dr. Wesley's page, like trying to, because they would come for him and I'd be in there and I'd be listening to his responses like, oh my God, why do they even bother? Like, I don't even know why they come for him. Like, they're crazy to come for Dr. Wesley. But so anyway, we became friends, and I was helping him, like booking him into some going to cities and things like that. So I started helping Dr. Wesley while I was doing Black Lawyers for Justice. And then, so I would tell Dr. Wesley how much I love Sister Ava, and I knew he was friends with her. So I was stalking her through Dr. Wesley, like begging, like, can you please just give me her number? Just you just tell her that I basically married my whole life after her, and I just want to meet her just one time. So finally, the call came from Dr. Wesley, like, okay, she has agreed for you to get her number. And I mean, Brother Joshua, I was like, oh my God, it's happening. Here I go again, manifesting, and I called her immediately. Like, of course, I didn't wait. As soon as I hung up the phone, I called her, and she answered the phone. She sounded a little bit annoyed. I ain't gonna lie to you. She could have been doing anything. People just call you out the blue and they want to talk to you, and you don't know who they are, and they're just going on and on and on. Yeah, that's how it happened. That's the truth of how it happened. I could tell she was like, yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Well, let's talk again later soon. Okay, yes, ma'am. So then I was like, okay, fine. She wants some peace. I'm just gonna text her. So I started texting her immediately. So after that, when I got to Chicago, I would come to study group specifically to see Sister Dr. Ava Muhammad.
Yes, ma'am.
And Brother Darius, for a minute though, I ran into Brother Darius, and because I'd be standing at the door, because in Chicago, Brother Joshua, you don't really get to pick where you sit. So there's circles, right, at the study group.
Yes, ma'am.
And Sister Ava would have her circle. And so I'd be kind of standing around, which I guess is some sort of security breach. You know what I'm saying? I'm like standing, and Brother Darius will always be on the door like, ma'am, can I help you? What are you doing? I'm just like, I want to sit in Sister Ava's circle. And I mean, after a while, I figured out that I wasn't crazy, and I would, be able to sit in Sister Ava's circle. And so when I heard that she was doing, do you remember when she was doing the town halls?
Yes, ma'am.
For separation?
Yes, ma'am.
So I had heard she was doing the town halls for separation. Well, part of when I came to Chicago, I had met Brother Farrakhan Muhammad Ali and some other believers. I think he was also helping with the 10-10-15 youth thing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so he was doing Project Separation. And when he told me about Project Separation, he was like, are you interested in doing the Justice Party piece? Because remember, the minister asked for a third political party, the Justice Party.
Yes, ma'am.
Which I have not forgotten. Okay, so we got to make that happen, Brother Joshua. We got to make that happen. So I was saying, so Brother Farrakhan had this plan of like going and asking our people, do they want to separate? So there's these things. Allah is doing these things in different places with different people, right? So once I got to see what Sister Ava was doing, and I knew what Brother Farrakhan Muhammad Ali was doing, he had came up with the name Project Separation, which, to be honest, I was like, I don't really like that name. I was like, okay, but if you want to go with that, that's fine, because I'm responsible for the Justice Party part. And so I was helping him with that. And then I see Sister Ava is doing the town halls, with her team. And so I spoke to Sister Ava. We met at the Starbucks a couple times, and I was explaining to her, I said, I think you should meet this group of brothers that are doing Project Separation, because it sounds like, because we had developed registration cards, because remember, we're trying to establish a party, and we're also trying to see which of our people are interested in separation, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so I knew Sister Ava was doing the town halls, but she didn't have the things in place to record all of the people who were coming, because obviously now we know, like, our people are ready to separate. There's no question. They're ready to separate. That is the only answer. It is the only solution. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us very clearly, it's the only solution. And so Sister Ava was on it. She was already like, okay, the minister said it, I'm on it. I ain't waiting on nobody. I'm gonna get on it. And so I asked her, would she like to meet with them? And she said yes. So we met up at Mas Mariam, back there in the conference room.
Yes, ma'am.
And when so it was Brother Farrakhan, Brother Eli, and myself, and a few other believers, and I made the introduction between them. And Sister Ava, when she heard Project Separation, she was like, "Oh, I love that." Now me, I was like, "I don't really like that. That name is," but she loved it, right? She saw the immediately, so she was like, and in a true G gangster and Sister Ava style, she was like, "Okay, I'm taking that. That's what we gonna read Project Separation from." She let us know. Like she didn't, she was like, "I'm just letting y'all know. I'm taking that. That's what's gonna happen." I mean, it's a nation. That's what happened, right? So I started helping her to set up her town halls, but now it became Project Separation, right? And so I was calling, so the same things that I was doing for Black Lawyers for Justice. So I would call the ministers in those cities, like, "Hey, we're coming in. We got this going on. Can we collaborate?" So I was helping, Sister Ava knew everybody anyway, but still, helping her to establish that second phase of Project Separation. And so that's how that part came out. And, I'm just, I was a part of that, but it's just, it's like there's these things that I feel like I have tried to contribute to my nation that people don't know about, and I want my children to know that their mom, had a hand in some of these things that I believe are laying the foundation for our people to separate, and I believe in that. I've always believed in that. And I've always dreamed of being able to wake up and go outside and there's Muslims everywhere and my children are safe and I don't have to pray so hard that my son doesn't get stopped by the police, that he doesn't get killed by another Black man. Like that type of level of psychic trauma that is on us, and to try to be fearless in a world like this, you got to pray all the time. Mothers have to pray all the time. I have to pray constantly, or I would be worried to death, to death, literally to death. Literally.
Beautiful. Yes, ma'am. Well, you're teaching Dr. Hassane, and people are showing you love, Dr. Hassane. People are showing you love all around the world. And I just want to give you some of the comments. Dr. Henry M. Carter says, "A sister's home is her place, not her base. There's no limit to the greatness of our women." That's right. Shout out to all the women. People saying that's right. Good question, sister, because people just bear with us. A whole sister warrior, snap fingers, go off, all the beautiful stuff. And we appreciate that. I wanted to follow up with you about your saying that sometimes we have to go out in order to get appreciated and then be able to come back in, because the same thing happens on people's podcasts. There were certain people who wouldn't accept my phone calls to do interviews. And then they see me on Facebook or something, and they see me with a celebrity or something like that. And then all of a sudden they hit me and be like, "Oh, I want to come on people's podcast." I'm like, "But I tried to, 4 years ago, I tried to reach out to you. And then now you see me interview a celebrity and it's like, now you want to come on a podcast." Well, I don't know what that's about, but that's the thing. Sometimes you got to go out into the world to get accepted. And then people who watch you the whole time be like, "Oh, maybe people's podcast is kind of cool," or whatever. But Dr. Minister Ava Muhammad was not one of those people. Right. And she came on 3 times. So I thank a lot for her. There was never no pressure, never no smoke. And she was always so loving.
Yes.
Always very humble. And she liked my format. She liked to be regular, make jokes, and and she was like, "Brother Joshua, where's your that?" Blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate her for and we'll always uplift her, because 3 interviews is going in history that she was humble. This is she was, and she could have flexed. And these people, I appreciate her humility. And I'm glad that what she did for the sisters. I mean, when I hear you tell this story, and the sister attorney out of Houston and other attorneys who I've interviewed, they're like, "Dr. Ms. Ava was an example. Dr. Ms. Ava, she was the shero. She was the," so that's good. And I also interviewed attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz before. So we get a for that. So yes, ma'am. So all the lawyers out there, I have nothing but love. And Naima says, "So true. All praise due to Allah." All right. Well, I just want to thank you. This is only part 1. That's right. The same basis that Dr. Ava said, just claiming it against. I'm just letting you know this will be a series with Hassane, and thank you all for watching. This means so much. And I want to thank your children, your ex-husband, yourself, all the sacrifices that you've made to help establish Islam here in North America. We appreciate you. We appreciate your family. Shout out to your parents, grandparents,
Yes.
all of that good stuff. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for your perseverance and your warrior spirit. Warrior spirit. And I wanted to ask you, we're going to follow back up with you about the importance of meditation on part 2. And how to help calm you and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, definitely. And people are showing love. So the Kaya is showing love in the comments, and boom. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off of the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Wa alaikum salam, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And thank you all for watching. Boom.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.